All right, we got a correctional officer video. I'm talking a little bit about the hiring process, going through the interviewing process, going back and forth with HR, going through the various steps that you go through from the time you put in your application to the time that you get your firm offer from the prison or facility that you applied to, giving you your start date. I still get a lot of questions from people asking me about various stages of the hiring process, what to expect during the hiring process, what they should bring. So I'm going to try to go over as much of that as I can in this video, and the main thing I want you to take from this video, if you're interested in corrections, you're trying to become a correctional officer, man, you have to show them that you want the job. You got to stay hungry. I was the type of person when I was going through the hiring process, I would call them every other week, man, maybe Monday if I couldn't get nobody on the phone, because, sometimes when you try to call into the prison, it's busy and they may not answer the phone. So sometimes if I was off that day, I would call like on the dot, on the hour, like every 2 hours. If I couldn't get nobody at 8 a.m. when HR first got there, I call again at 10 a.m. I call again at noon, 2, I got somebody on the phone. If that didn't work, I drive up to the prison, man, and wait for somebody to come out, walk up to them. Hey, I'm interested in the job. I got a degree in criminal justice. I'm working at the county jail right now. What do I have to do to get hired on? Can you help me out, man? I'll call the inmate line. The families, they have a line where they can call and inquire about their loved ones that are incarcerated. I call that line. Somebody answer. I'll be like, hey, I'm not calling about somebody locked up. I'm trying to get a job there. Can you transfer me to somebody that can help me out? You have to show them that you hungry, man. Take it serious. Show them that you want the job, man. Persistence is how you get the job, baby. That's how you going to get that offer, man. But let's get right to the video, though, man. This is what you got to remember, too. You have to treat it like it's a business meeting. When you get finally called in for your interview, make sure you clean shaven, your beard trimmed up, your hair is fresh, you smell good, you got your suit on pressed, you go in there with everything you need, all your documentation that they may need. Even if you don't think they need it, bring it anyway. I came in there with my driver's license, social security card, passport, my college transcripts, I had all my references, everything they possibly could need, man. I'm going in there. I mean business. I want the job. I'm trying to show the interviewer, whoever it may be, that I'm sitting across from doing the interview questions. I'm trying to show them that I want the job. I take it serious, man. I value your time. Thank you for calling me in, just giving me an opportunity to show you what I bring to the table, why y'all should hire me as a correctional officer. When they asking you the questions, they're going to ask you psychological questions. People ask me about that all the time, scenario-based stuff. A lot of it is this scenario-based stuff. If you already work in corrections, you kind of already know. If you don't, it's kind of like common sense. They may ask you a situation occurs in a prison. What would you do? They're just testing you to see what your response is, man. Do you have the right mental makeup to work in corrections? If you say something bizarre or out the wall, an inmate has some words for you, y'all get into a verbal altercation, and you say that you just gonna body slam them off the rip, man, they're probably not going to hire you, man. You have to show them that you have the right mental makeup, you have the right verbal communication skills, de-escalation skills to become a successful correctional officer. You feel me, man? So this is the next thing too, call the recruiting officers or human resources at whatever facility you're interested in. Ask them, do they have like recruiting events? I work for the Bureau of Prisons, the federal prison system. Here lately, the past couple of years, they have been doing recruiting events. They go to college. I remember when I was in college back in 2012, I remember they would have college career days. They would have their table set up. I went to college in West Virginia, so it was a couple federal prisons that were from West Virginia. They were there recruiting people. I remember it like yesterday, man. I took the pamphlet. I was asking them questions, and I kept that in the back of my head. I wasn't sure at the time what I wanted to do. I didn't have my mind set on corrections, but it was just good information for me to have, along with other agencies. There was other agencies like U.S. Marshals, Border Patrol, Secret Service. I went around to every table, man, and talked to all these people, because you never know where life may take you, So I'm about to graduate college with my degree in criminal justice. So I'm just trying to see what's out there? What are my options? You know, this is the next thing, man. When you go on that interview, man, show up early. Be on time, man. Show them that you are reliable. You can be depended on. You know, like I said, be clean shaven. You know, clean up. Make sure your suit is pressed, man. Be on time. Be punctual. Be right there in the lobby, man. When I went in for my interview, man, I had a full suit on. I made sure I was cleanly shaven. All my documentation, you know, some people that came in, I don't judge anybody. Some people came in, you know, work boots, some jeans, and like a polo dress shirt. Nah, I'm all the way in or I'm all the way out, man. This is a business meeting, you know. This is a potential money-making endeavor right here, man. It's been good to me. The 14 years that I've been in corrections, man, it's been life-changing. Financially, it's been good. The good to me, it far outweighs the bad. You know, there are downsides to, you know, working in correction, but that's any job, you know. But if you can get past all that, man, the good, like I say, the good, it's been great. It's been a blessing for me and my family. This is the next thing, man. Make sure HR, human resources, get every document and form that they need promptly. So when you're going through the hiring process, right, you know, you may be going back and forth. They may send you an email or call you, say, hey, we need this documentation. We need this so we can start your background check. Make sure you on top of all that, man. When they called me or they sent me an email, I was getting it done the same day if I could. You know, I wasn't trying to delay the process any longer than it had to be. You know, like I said, I was hungry. I need this job, man. You know, I was already, when I got on with the Bureau of Prisons, the federal prison, I was already working at the county jail. I had been there 2 years altogether, but I was like, you know, it's time for change, man. It's time for me to keep, you know, pursuing bigger and better things. So when I went through that hiring process for the BOP, man, I was on punctual with everything. Soon as they need whatever, I think it's called the E-KIP, all these different documents, your OF-85, whatever they needed, man. When HR would email me, I was Johnny on the spot, man. Okay, let me get that right back to them. If I had to go to HR, what's it called, Home Depot, or go to the library so I can print or fax something off, I was doing whatever I had to do, man, by any means necessary. I need this job. This is the next thing. Check in periodically on the status of your application. I get some people, you know, they ask me, you know, in the comments on my YouTube channel, they may say stuff like, you know, I applied for the job. It's been a month. You know, I haven't heard anything back. This is one thing I will tell you. No news is good news. If you don't hear anything back, you know, saying, you know, we reviewed your application. Unfortunately, we can't hire you or proceed through with the hiring process. Then, if, like I said, if you don't hear any news, that's a good thing, man. But if you know it's been like a month and a half, 2 months, go ahead, maybe give them a call, just check in. You know, when I used to do that, I would call them and I'd be like, hey, I was just checking in on the status of my application, you know, just being polite, good morning, stuff like that, man. Periodically, maybe like every 2-3 weeks. You know, I don't want to call them every week, you know, blow their head up, but I do want them to put a name with a face and to remember me. And I want to show them that I'm serious about getting the job. So if you haven't heard nothing in a while, just go ahead, call them, maybe send an email in, maybe stop by the prison, maybe see if you could talk to HR real quick, maybe try to catch them while they coming in the front, while they on the way to work. You know, just, hey, I'm just trying to inquire about the status of my application. That's all, man. I just want the job, man. I want to get back here and get to work. This is the next thing, man. You know, in the end, you know, you go through everything and you end up not getting the job for some reason. Don't get discouraged. Don't get down on yourself. The first time I applied for the Bureau of Prisons, right? Like I said, I was working at the county jail. I remember it like it was yesterday, man. I was just got done with the academy working at the county jail. I had just finished the academy that Friday, and I was going through the hiring process. I had an interview at USP Hazleton up in West Virginia that following Monday. So I went in for the interview. Everything's going good. You know, they going through all my stuff. Then they go on my background. They said, I had something on there about when I got fired from a job. I worked at a casino, Mardi Gras casino, when I was in college in West Virginia, and I had got fired from the job. You know, it was something that held me back nonetheless. But it ended up getting me disqualified from the job. So I was like, man, I went through all this, you know, just to say, you know, they can't go through with the hiring process. They told me, I asked them, this is the key right here. If you go through that and you end up not getting selected for the job, always ask the recruiter, what can you tell me why I didn't get selected, and try to ask them, can I reapply? Can you reapply at a later date? See, what ended up happening with me was, I had to wait a whole nother year. So I mean, like I said, I was discouraged. I was down a little bit, but I was like, okay, cool, man. I'm gonna just wait another year. I'm already working at the county jail. So I stayed another year at the county jail. Then when that year mark came about, I reapplied. This time I applied to FCI McDowell because I was trying to apply to FCI Beckley in Beckley, West Virginia. They told me they really wasn't hiring right now at the time being, but they said McDowell, which is like an hour and some change away, they were hiring officers like that. So I'm like, man, I got to get my foot in the door. So I just put in for USA Jobs for the BOP, to get on with the federal prison. And I put FCI McDowell as my main choice, my number one choice. Got called for an interview, went in, boom, everything went smooth. I got the job, man. So like I said, don't get discouraged if you don't get selected the first time. Look at other options. There may be other prisons, jails, facilities, or agencies around you that you could possibly apply to. You may get hired on with them. So like I said, man, just keep the faith. Keep going, man. Stay patient. Like I said, that's one of the biggest things. I know you want the job. I know you want to get hired on, but you have to stay patient, man. No news is good news. Stay busy living your best life. Don't let it, the whole hiring process get you discouraged, get you nervous, anxious, depressed, thinking you're not going to get the job. They're going to call you when you least expect it. Y'all like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel at the Ghetto Bodybuilder. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, at the Ghetto Bodybuilder. I got merchandise for sale. This is one of my gym shirts. We run the gym. I got them in hoodies, t-shirts, all sizes, all colors available. Shop with me on my website. Y'all got any input, thoughts, comments, any topics for future videos y'all may want me to do? Drop a comment. I'll be sure to get back with you as soon as I can. Y'all know how we coming. Let's get motivated.